Hey, what's up everybody and welcome back to News Dose, and we get to start the week off with another Xbox Activision Blizzard update. The drama continues on, but this time it's because it's been discovered that Sony declined to comment on a pretty significant offer. And now the question arises, is Sony misleading regulators in the hopes to stop this deal? Well, we're going to dig into all of that a little later on today, as well as a big Nintendo game that's already being teased. Now, I'll say this much. Nintendo has really just knocked it out of the park this generation, but that Switch successor is starting to sound pretty nice, and I'll explain why later on in the video. But before we get started today, a little reminder on those buttons below. I mean, we're so close to 50,000 subscribers. We're less than 100 away. I mean, that's actually hard to believe. Thank you all just so much for your all support. But yes, let's make 50,000 happen. Hit that subscribe, like, and yes, ring that bell, because honestly, YouTube's kind of weird about things. That bell button is where it's at, and it does keep you informed when I post new videos. With that said, let's just go and get right into the video, starting off with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now, I did play this game some over the weekend, and I have to say, outside of its very obvious technical issues that everybody's talking about online right now, which I might actually make a separate video about that because there's actually some solutions to fix some of those problems. But again, outside of those issues, the game itself is actually really good. Yes, it needs a patch, pretty majorly actually, but it does appear that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has had a pretty massive launch as was expected. This is, of course, the Pokemon franchise after all, but according to GfK, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is now the biggest retail launch in the UK for the entirety of 2022. To put that into perspective, though, on just how massive its launch actually was, Scarlet and Violet is now the second biggest launch for the franchise, sitting only behind Sun and Moon. Yeah, Scarlet and Violet has gotten off to a pretty good start, and the launch was also 36% higher than Sword and Shield in the UK, 70% more than Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and 56% bigger than Legends Arceus, which just released earlier this year. Now when I hear about all this, though, I think it's really just more of a reason that Game Freak actually needs to fix this game's problem. It appears that it's had a huge launch, I mean, no doubt about it, and the game itself is great. I mean, it seems like almost everybody that actually plays the game, and if they can look past some of its issues, people say it's an absolutely fantastic game, which I very much agree with myself. But if you've been anywhere near social media, you know there's a lot of issues with this game, and people are very disappointed. Scarlet and Violet, I mean, there's just no way about it. It should not run as poor as it does, and it seems like that's pretty much all anybody can talk about when this game gets brought up. Yes, it's good, but it still shouldn't have these problems. So it kind of reminds me of Cyberpunk's launch a little bit. Yeah, a lot of people were hyped up about that game as well, but as more and more people discovered, there was a lot of issues that did hurt the longevity of that game. I mean, that was a good game as well, but those issues did hurt that game's longevity, and it did not meet their original sales targets and also kind of damaged their reputation all at the same time. So launch numbers are not your be-all, end-all. I think we all kind of expected Pokemon Scarlet and Violet to have a massive launch, so no real surprise there. But now it's going to be all about how strong its legs are. And I think with its current state, we could see more of a dramatic drop-off compared to previous entries. I mean, look at it this way. Sun and Moon had a big launch as well, but it didn't go on to be the best-selling Pokemon game in the entire franchise. A lot of the numbers for Pokemon does come over time, and in its current state and with how much buzz there is about its issues, it could actually see a little bit more of a dramatic drop-off than some of the previous entries. That's why it's even more important for them to put out a patch to fix its issues, and I imagine that they will. Now, I know some people do question on whether or not Game Freak will actually fix its problems because they don't really have a great reputation when it comes to patches, and because it's selling well, I mean, who cares or whatever, right? But I don't really look at it that way at all. I think there's also a very real debate that they've never really dealt with issues this severe, and there's just too much buzz for them to simply ignore these problems. It also sounds like a lot of the issues is potentially because of a memory leak. Again, I might actually make a separate video about that, but I think that this is fixable, and hopefully, because of that, we'll see a patch sooner rather than later. Again, it's a great game outside of those issues, so I'm really hoping we see that patch soon. Next up, there's a rumor going around that Team Ninja quote-unquote confirmed that both Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive reboots are currently planned. This is coming from a translation of Team Ninja's president during a panel at G-Star over in South Korea last week. And apparently, one of the slides that they used showed both Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive, with the headline stating, "The future of Team Ninja, reboot of popular series." So yeah, I'd say the headline kind of says it all there, and reportedly, or at least according to a translation, Team Ninja's president then said that they're working to bring fans more news as soon as possible. So I think from that story alone, it does seem like they're kind of confirming reboots for both of those games. I'd say at the very least it's suspicious, but at the same time, I'm still hesitant to say that this news has been 100% confirmed, as some are reporting. And actually, the Video Game Chronicle did get a response from Team Ninja themselves, in which they simply said they have nothing to announce at this time. So because of all that, I don't look at this as a 100% confirmation, but maybe an early sign that they could at the very least be interested in a reboot sometime in the future. I mean, if anything, I think that this kind of bodes well for fans of Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive. Okay, so let's just go and talk about this Activision Blizzard situation, though, because another big article made its way online, this time from the New York Times, and it revealed something very interesting. See, I think we all kind of know by this point, a lot of the back and forth between Sony, regulators, and Microsoft has been all about Call of Duty. Now, Microsoft, since day one of announcing their intent to buy Activision Blizzard, they have said over and over and over again that they intend to keep Call of Duty multi-platform. I think that it is very clear myself. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This franchise will remain on PlayStation, not just for the PlayStation 5, but the PlayStation 6 and so on and so forth. Now, they said that they had discussions with Sony about all of this very early on to confirm that intent as well. But pretty much since then, Sony has made it their mission to complain about this deal as much as they possibly can. They've discussed their concerns with regulators to make sure that they heavily scrutinize this buyout. Now, I think a lot of the things Sony's been complaining about, they're guilty of themselves. I mean, they buy studios, they make a ton of games exclusive, look at Final Fantasy VII. But you know what? When it comes to Call of Duty and it being multi-platform after the buyout, it's now been discovered thanks to this new article that Microsoft on November 11th offered to extend the Call of Duty contract for PlayStation to 10 years. Now, that is a very generous contract. That would mean, let's say that the Activision Blizzard deal goes through in 2023. Well, that would mean that Call of Duty will, without a shadow of doubt, remain on PlayStation all the way through to 2033. By that point, we're probably well into the PlayStation 6 generation, but apparently, Sony has declined to comment on the 10-year contract, and instead, Jim Ryan, PlayStation boss Jim Ryan, went on to say, Microsoft is a tech company with a long history of dominating industries, and that it is highly likely that the choices gamers have today will disappear if this deal goes ahead. Now, that is just perplexing to me, because he gives absolutely no additional detail on what choices will exactly disappear. Now, Microsoft, on the opposite side of things, I mean, they're saying that gamers will have more choice, not less. So I'm very interested in the less choices that Jim Ryan is speaking about here. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, though, I've said this a few different times, but I think that Sony is being disingenuous with regulators about the Activision Blizzard buyout. First off, I believe that Sony knows that Call of Duty will remain multi-platform. I think by this point, Microsoft has made things very clear, and I think that Sony understands that Call of Duty will be treated similar to Minecraft, which Microsoft has stated before. Microsoft doesn't have to bring Minecraft to PlayStation, Nintendo, and all these other platforms. They choose to, and I'm sure that there's probably contracts involved with all of that as well. So Call of Duty will be the same here, and the fact that Microsoft offered them a 10-year contract for Call of Duty, that's a huge contract, but it sounds like Sony still isn't happy about it. Now, exactly why is that? Because I believe that they're using Call of Duty and its potential exclusivity as an excuse to shut this buyout down. I think that they want to plant as many seeds to bring concern to regulators, because I think in reality, I think Sony's afraid. Not because of exclusivity, not because it will give gamers less choice, as Jim Ryan says here with, again, no additional details, but instead, I think that they're afraid because this buyout will give gamers more choice that isn't PlayStation related. Call of Duty will remain on PlayStation, but it will also likely come over to Xbox Game Pass day one. It's also probably going to come over to mobile devices, and there's also a potential chance that it might come over to Nintendo as well. These are not PlayStation platforms, and I don't think Sony likes that. So I think that Sony understands this acquisition will make Xbox much more competitive, especially with the addition of Xbox Game Pass. Call of Duty and other Activision Blizzard IP, regardless of exclusivity, if they go into Xbox Game Pass day one, that could entice a lot of gamers to choose Xbox over PlayStation. I mean, instead of buying Call of Duty for $70 on PlayStation, they could instead just subscribe for $10 a month. So that's a pretty nice little enticing offer. And Sony, they know that. Sony will also lose their exclusive Call of Duty DLC content, which is kind of ironic because that's one of the things that Sony is complaining about to regulators. They want content parity for PlayStation when they themselves, they lock down exclusive Call of Duty content as it currently stands. But I think them declining to comment on this extended 10-year contract is very telling. In this very article, it says Microsoft accused Sony of misleading the regulator, saying it overstated the importance of Call of Duty to its viability. And then Jim Ryan responded by saying that that's not true and that they're not misleading regulators. So yeah, I think Sony's being disingenuous, and now it's really just going to be up to Microsoft to kind of show that and show what they intend to do with this deal. So I'm kind of curious as to what regulators think about this 10-year contract. What do they think about Sony declining to comment about it? What is their thought process on that? That's the big question here. Will they be happy with that offer? I mean, I guess we'll find out in due time, but the other part about this news is that it is clear that Microsoft is willing to work with these regulators to ensure this buyout goes through. They're already showing that they're willing to extend the contract, and I think that that bodes well for Microsoft here, but as always, we'll just have to kind of wait and see. In the meantime, though, make sure to go and hit that subscribe button for more Activision Blizzard updates, because I'm sure we're going to get plenty more in the coming months. Now, a big Nintendo game is already being teased as well, because it looks like there's a chance that Platinum Games is looking to make Bayonetta 4 sooner rather than later. Now, this is actually coming from Hideki Kamiya, the director for Bayonetta 3, and he took to Twitter to say this. I thought it was nothing unexpected, but the last part of Bayonetta 3 doesn't seem to have been conveyed to anyone correctly, so I think Bayonetta 4 will be unexpected for everyone. I'm sure that when Bayonetta 4 comes out, there will be that thing that says, you added that after the game, didn't you? I'll say this now because I'm sure that when Bayonetta 4 comes out, there will be a lot of, you added that after the fact, didn't you? So yeah, he's already openly talking about Bayonetta 4. There's no secrets here. Sounds like that's very much a game that he's looking to get right into, which, I mean, I guess that shouldn't really be too surprising. They have expressed interest in the past in making this into more of a long-term franchise for them, but it is nice to hear that less than 1 month after the launch of Bayonetta 3, that he already has ideas for Bayonetta 4. The thing about this franchise is that I think it's carved its name into that conversation of being a staple for the hack and slash genre. I mean, when you think about the all-time greats, you hear about God of War, you hear about Devil May Cry, and truthfully, I think Bayonetta is right alongside those games. That's how good this series is. So I think more Bayonetta in the future is very, very exciting, especially when you think, oh yeah, this might be a game for that inevitable Switch successor. See, the thing about Bayonetta 3 is that even though it's a great game, its performance still could have been better. It does look like the Switch's hardware might have held it back a little bit, but who knows? Bayonetta 4 on the Switch successor? That sounds absolutely fantastic to me. I mean, not only is it an exciting game to look forward to, but on top of that, I think Bayonetta kind of adds more variety to Nintendo's library. A lot of Nintendo's games are viewed as a little bit more family-friendly, but Bayonetta, it's a lot different than a lot of the Nintendo games that they typically have to offer, so it does give them a little bit more variety. For that matter, though, if the Switch successor does end up being backwards compatible, as I fully expect it will, maybe, just maybe, some of the problems on Bayonetta 3 could magically be fixed up as well. Either way, though, more Bayonetta is on the way if this tweet is anything to go by. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, and you know it is the holiday season and everything now, so I wanted to ask you all, have you picked up any game-related Black Friday deals so far? And as you can see here, 23% of you said yes, 33% of you said no, but still looking, and then 42% of you said no. So yeah, at the very least, about 56% of you all are looking to get something during this Black Friday. And yeah, there's already a lot of really nice discounts going live. I mean, I ask myself this, it seems like every single year, but why do I even buy games at launch? I mean, seriously, like 3 games that released in just like the last month or so are already seeing pretty major discounts. That includes Gotham Knights. I saw that for $35 today. You have Persona 5 Royal, including the Steelbook Edition. That's for 50% off, $30. Sonic Frontiers, that released like 10 days ago. It's going for $30 right now. Why do we even buy games when they're going to go on sell in less than a month? That's absolutely crazy. But I mean, if you held off from buying those games, definitely you might want to look into getting those now. Looking through the comments, though, I mean, I saw a lot of you all have already picked up some great games. You have Zeitmeist here, picked up God of War 2018 for $9.99. That is an absolutely fantastic deal. Congratulations on that. You have Starboy Viper, picked up Gotham Knights for $40 on Xbox. As Viper mentions, sure, it might not be a great game, but hey, you got $20 off, so that's a pretty nice little deal there. Then you have Jake here, picked up Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut for $30 on Amazon. Yeah, another great game. So, I mean, it does look like a lot of you all are already picking up some absolutely fantastic games. So, congratulations and happy hunting out there. I myself am going to be on a lookout as well, and I'll probably continue to regret buying games day one, but hey, I guess it is what it is. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.